This lesson is going to talk briefly about what servers are, different hosting plans you can get, and the process of purchasing a domain from Namecheap, which is our preferred hosting provider. Um, so first, what exactly is a server? You've probably heard this term before, just thrown around casually, but might not know exactly what it means. A server is essentially just a computer that has your website files stored onto it. And when people travel to it on the internet, it serves up those files to them. That's basically it. It's just a computer that's specially formatted to be very efficient at serving up website files. It holds all the files and data that make up a website or a web application or a mail program, whatever it is that you need, and the server is connected to the internet so that people can access it. We won't go too far into the nature of servers or different pros and cons of various server software or whatever because it's not really relevant to what we're trying to do. Just know that a server is a computer that people throughout the world can make requests of, and it will serve up websites. Um, a server has three different resources that are of primary importance to purchasing a hosting plan. That is storage, processing power, and memory. All computers have these resources, and servers are no exception. A hosting plan is basically just about telling a hosting company how much of these resources that you're going to need and then purchase them, and they'll give you access to them. Let's go over the different hosting plans that Namecheap and almost all web hosts will offer. Shared hosting is the cheapest option and the one we're actually going to be used for web hosting. Essentially, it means that a whole bunch of people are put on, or a whole bunch of websites are put onto the same server and they're all sharing the server resources. That means storage, memory, and processing power. There's agreements that you have to abide by regarding how much of these resources you're actually going to use, because if one website is using up a whole lot of them, then it draws away from the performance of all the other websites that are on the server. Um, this is really not something that's probably going to happen if you're just running a small website, but if you start to go over your allotted resources, then usually the web host will contact you and say, hey, it's time to upgrade to a new plan. Reseller hosting is not really something you need to worry about. Basically, it means that the web host is going to sell you wholesale a whole bunch of resources and make you the kind of supreme administrator of those. And then you can lease out space, storage, and processing power on your own terms with your own company label. Basically, it means that you become your own mini web host. This is kind of neat, but it's really not something that we need to worry about. VPS hosting stands for virtual private server hosting. It's very similar to shared hosting in that your space on the server is being shared with others, but you're not sharing resources with anybody else. So it gives you many of the benefits of shared hosting, but you are much more in control of what's going on with the resources that are allotted to you, and you don't have to share them. That is, the performance of your website will never be influenced by what's going on in other people's websites. Dedicated hosting is the most expensive option, and this is really more for very large websites that have um, a lot more specific needs. Essentially, you are purchasing the use of a server for your organization alone. No one else is going to be residing on it. This is really not something that you need to worry about until you start dealing with very, very big, very, very popular websites. So, and that's basically all that we need to concern ourselves with for the scope of this lesson. So go ahead and click on shared hosting, and that's going to allow you to compare plans. Now we're on the screen that gives you the different levels of the shared hosting plans that Namecheap offers. You can get really bargain stuff, or you can go a lot more professional. The scope of this lab, and honestly a lot of websites that you might be making, you're just going to need the basic thing. Namecheap has some really high quality hosting, and that gives you a lot of storage. It has a lot of bandwidth allowance, and it just functions really well. I've used other hosts before and had many problems with the amount of stuff that they allot to you. So Namecheap is very good, and their value option is just fine. They have a promotional deal that we take advantage of for this lab that basically you get to pay $9.88 for a full year, and then after that it's like $40 a year. So just at the end of the 1 year term, you can keep the hosting package if you want, or you can choose to just abandon it. It's completely up to you. But we think this is very economical, and we try and keep costs down here for you. So go ahead and add the value hosting plan to the cart. Wherever you're buying your hosting from, you're always going to get a screen like this right after you choose your package, and it's going to ask you if you want to purchase a new domain from them. Use a domain that you already have that you purchased with Namecheap previously, or use a domain that you bought from another registrar like GoDaddy or my personal favorite, Google Domains. It's best practice to purchase your hosting and your web domains from different providers for a plethora of reasons. Mainly, it just gives you a lot more control. For the purposes of this lab, keeping in mind that we want to keep things a lot more simple, and we also want to keep things as cheap as possible for you. That's why we don't have required books that you have to buy. That's why we never require you to buy software unless it's very, very cheap. We're going to go ahead and go with the option that says, I want to get a free .website domain. Since this is just a playground for you, having a kind of lame sounding website is not really a big issue, and it gives you a free year of this .website domain. So you can just get yourname.website or I love ducks.website. And then once the year is over, along with your hosting plan, just get rid of it. Don't bother renewing. That's a totally fine option. This is a very useful tactic when you're trying to learn something new. So go ahead and hit the I want to get a free .website domain. Go ahead and choose whatever website you want. I'm going to let this expire after years, so I don't care if I lose the rights to Ducks Are Cool. I'm going to fast forward just to the next part. I'm not going to bother going through all the steps of doing this form. If you've ever purchased anything online, then you know what to do here. If you have any trouble, then feel free to email the lab leader, but basically just go through the steps. There's really no curveballs that they throw you here. And to protect my own personal information, I'm just going to skip ahead to the ultimate checkout. So I'll see you there. Not a whole lot interesting to see here. Basically, I'm just agreeing to the terms of service and then hitting pay now and then getting a very long load screen. That's pretty much the end of this video. This has just been about giving you a very brief overview of what servers are, the basics of selecting a hosting package, and then going through the process. You're going to get 3 emails from Namecheap that have vital information in them, but we're going to tackle that in another video, and I'll see you there.